Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Advance. For anyone who might be new here, my name is Jessica, and this is our special place on the internet where we dedicate ourselves to helping you elevate your English skills every single day. We consistently bring you new episodes designed to make your English more fluent, more authentic, and much easier to apply in your everyday life. Today, we're going to explore what I believe is one of the most transformative skills you can ever develop on your language journey. It's the to think directly in English and, as a result, speak with the natural flow of a native speaker. So many learners find themselves in a constant battle because they're mentally translating from their native language into English right before they speak. This mental gymnastics creates awkward pauses, slows down conversation, and often leads to sentences that sound a little off, a little unnatural. In this episode, I promise to guide you through changing that entire process. We'll dive into practical, easy-to-implement tips, and I'll share some relatable stories and clear examples to make everything crystal clear and achievable for you. I remember so vividly when I first started learning Spanish, I had this exact same problem. I was standing in a charming little market in Madrid, surrounded by the vibrant colors of fresh fruits and vegetables. The friendly vendor looked at me, smiled, and asked me what I wanted. In that moment, I just froze. My mind went completely blank. Inside my head, I was frantically trying to build the sentence in English first. I would like to buy a kilogram of tomatoes. Then I desperately tried to translate each word, one by one, into Spanish. By the time I managed to stammer out a broken sentence, the moment had passed. The vendor was already helping someone else, and I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. That is the perfect illustration of what happens when you get stuck in the translation trap. Now, let's fast forward and imagine a different scenario, a much better one. Picture yourself at work talking to your colleague. Let's call him Liam. He turns to you and asks, "So, what are your thoughts on this new project proposal?" If you fall back into the habit of translating, you'll likely pause, hesitate, and search for the right words. But if you're thinking directly in English, your response can be immediate and natural. Something like, "I think the proposal looks really promising, but maybe we could add a bit more detail to the budget section." Do you hear the difference? This is how native speakers communicate, with a smooth, confident rhythm. The very first step on this journey to thinking in English is surprisingly simple. It's about using English for the small, mundane things you do throughout your day. For instance, when you wake up in the morning, try to catch yourself. Don't think, "I need to get out of bed," in your native language and then translate it. Instead, make a conscious effort to have that thought directly in English in your mind. Okay, I need to get out of bed. When you're in the kitchen getting your morning coffee, think to yourself, "I'm pouring the hot water now. It smells so good." These tiny, consistent habits are like laying the foundational bricks for your English-thinking brain. They slowly but surely build a new default pathway for your thoughts. I recall one of my students, a wonderful woman named Ava. She used to translate every single word in her head, and it made her feel incredibly self-conscious. She told me, "Jessica, I just can't speak quickly. My brain feels too slow." I gave her this one piece of advice. Every time you see an object, no matter how simple, take a moment to describe it silently in English. If you look at a lamp on your desk, say in your head, "That's a tall silver lamp. It has a white shade. It looks modern." Ava took this advice to heart. After about a month of consistent practice, her English underwent a complete transformation. She could suddenly answer questions in our lessons without that long, telling pause, because she had stopped filtering everything through her native language first. Another incredibly effective way to cultivate this skill is to get into the habit of asking yourself questions in English, and just as importantly, answering them in English. This creates an internal dialogue that is purely in English. For example, when you're walking down the street, ask yourself, "What do I see around me?" Then begin to answer. "I see a red bus. The sky looks a bit cloudy today. A woman is walking her dog." This simple exercise actively makes English a fundamental part of your internal thought process, not just a tool for external communication. A crucial point to remember is this: don't wait for your grammar to be perfect before you start speaking or thinking. Native speakers don't consciously review grammar rules every time they talk. Their focus is on conveying ideas and emotions, not on analyzing sentence structure. When you start thinking in English, you naturally learn to do the same. Let me share another real-life example to illustrate this. My friend Ben moved to Toronto for a new job. In the beginning, he was constantly translating before he spoke, especially in professional settings. One day during a critical team meeting, his manager asked him a direct question about his progress. Ben understood the question, but his brain immediately went into translation mode. He translated the question into his native language, formulated his answer, and then began the slow process of translating that answer back into English. The whole team was waiting in silence, and Ben told me he felt his face flush with anxiety. Later that day, he called me and said, "I have to change this. It's holding me back." He started using his daily commute on the train to practice thinking in English. He would describe the people around him, imagine conversations, and plan his day, all silently in English. After about 2 months, he was able to contribute to meetings spontaneously and confidently without any delay. Here's another simple exercise you can start today. When you're preparing a meal, narrate the steps to yourself in English. "Okay, first, I'm chopping the onions. Now I'm adding some olive oil to the pan. The food is starting to sizzle." If you make this a daily ritual, your brain will gradually stop defaulting to your first language for these everyday tasks and will begin to use English automatically. One final but powerful tip before we delve into more advanced examples: stop relying on subtitles in your native language when you watch movies or series in English. If you need support, use English subtitles instead. This forces your brain to create a direct link between the English words you hear and see and their meaning, completely bypassing the need for translation. Now let's go even deeper into this concept of thinking in English. I want you to visualize another common situation. You're at the grocery store looking for some pasta, and you bump into your colleague, Chloe. She smiles warmly and says, "Hi, how have you been?" If your first instinct is to think in your native language, you'll need to translate your response. That process, no matter how quick, consumes mental energy and can create a sense of pressure. But if you're already thinking in English, your reply will flow effortlessly. "I'm doing well, thanks. Just picking up a few things for dinner. How about you?" Notice how that exchange sounds simple, relaxed, and completely natural. This is why I always emphasize that you shouldn't focus on constructing long, complicated sentences when you're starting out. Instead, aim for the quick, natural phrases that native speakers use all the time. For instance, instead of saying a very formal sentence like, "I am planning to return to my residence after I finish my work because I have several tasks to complete," a native speaker would most likely say something much simpler like, "I'm heading home after work to get some stuff done." Thinking in English helps you naturally select this simpler, more authentic version without any stress. Here's another example to consider. Imagine you're in a brainstorming session at work and your team leader asks, "What's everyone's opinion on this new marketing plan?" If you're thinking directly in English, you might say, "I think it's a solid start. We just need to define our target audience a bit more clearly." However, if you're translating from your native language, you might end up with something that sounds a bit stilted or unnatural, like, "In accordance with my opinion, this plan appears to be quite acceptable." Can you feel the difference in the flow and tone? Thinking in English helps you steer clear of those awkward textbook-like phrases. Now let's discuss some specific techniques that can accelerate this process for you. One of my absolute favorite exercises is called shadowing. Shadowing is a powerful technique where you listen to a short audio clip of a native English speaker and then repeat what they say almost immediately, trying to mimic their exact rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation. You can do this with podcasts, audiobooks, or even news clips. For example, if you hear the phrase, "It's a beautiful day for a walk in the park," you repeat it right away. "It's a beautiful day for a walk in the park." Do this over and over again with the same clip. This exercise trains your mouth to form the sounds and trains your brain to process English speech patterns without the intermediate step of translation. Another potent method is role-playing. Let's do a quick role-play right now. Imagine two friends, Liam and Maya, are chatting after a long day at work. Liam says, "Hey Maya, any exciting plans for the weekend?" Maya answers, "I'm thinking of visiting my sister. We'll probably just grab lunch and catch up." Liam says, "That sounds lovely. I might go for a hike if the weather holds up." Maya replies, "Oh, that's a great idea. Hiking is such a wonderful way to de-stress." Now listen to that exchange again. Did you notice the short, clear, and direct sentences? When you practice thinking in English, these kinds of natural conversational building blocks become automatic. I want to share a story from one of our listeners, a man named Leo. Leo moved to the United States for his master's degree. Initially, he was very hesitant to speak because he was caught in the endless loop of translating in his head. He sent me an email saying, "Jessica, I feel like I'm always one step behind in conversations." I gave him this piece of advice. Start with your simplest thoughts. Narrate your daily activities to yourself in English, but keep it very basic. A few months later, Leo sent me another message that made my day. It said, "I just had a half-hour conversation with my professor about my thesis, and I didn't translate a single word in my head." That is the incredible power of this method. Now let's also talk about some common mistakes people make when they try to switch to thinking in English. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to memorize long, isolated lists of vocabulary words. This rarely helps you think or speak faster. Instead of memorizing individual words, focus on learning short, common phrases and collocations, words that naturally go together. For example, instead of just memorizing the word decision, Learn the phrase, make a decision. Instead of interest, learn, take an interest in. Phrases like these are the glue of natural speech and make your language sound much more authentic. Another common mistake is worrying excessively about grammar while you're thinking. Let me ask you this. When you think in your native language, are you constantly checking grammar rules in your head? Of course not. You just think, and the words flow. You need to grant yourself the same freedom in English. Prioritize communication and the expression of your ideas first. Your grammar will improve naturally with more exposure and practice. Let's practice with another scenario. Imagine you're at a coffee shop with your colleague, Ava. She asks you, "What are you going to have?" If you think in English, you can answer immediately, I think I'll just have a black coffee. Ava might say, "That sounds good. I'm going to try their new latte." Or, this is how conversations flow smoothly when you remove the barrier of translation. Here's another inspiring story. My friend Mia once told me about her father, Noah. Noah wanted to improve his English quickly because his company started having weekly meetings with an international team. At first, he would meticulously write down what he wanted to say in his native language and then translate it. This process made him incredibly nervous during the actual meetings. One day, he decided to completely stop translating. He started using his morning walk with his dog as his thinking in English time. He would describe everything he saw. The sun is very bright this morning. The road is busy with cars. I can see people jogging in the park. After about 3 months of this simple daily habit, he was speaking confidently in his meetings without any stress. Let me share a specific tip that Noah used, which is highly effective. Choose a different topic each day and dedicate just 5 minutes to thinking about it in English. For example, today's topic could be hobbies. Ask yourself in English, what hobbies do I enjoy? Why do I like them? Then answer yourself in English. I really enjoy reading because it helps me relax and learn new things. I also like hiking because I love being in nature. Doing this every day with a variety of topics, like food, travel, work, or movies, is like taking your brain to the gym. It trains your mind to access English thoughts much faster. Another wonderfully practical technique is to keep a simple English journal. Every night before you go to sleep, write just 3 simple sentences about your day in English. For example, today I had a very productive meeting at work. I felt tired afterward, so I took a short nap. Tomorrow I plan to go to the gym in the morning. Writing in this way helps you structure and organize your thoughts directly in English, which is a crucial skill for fluent speaking. Let's go back to a role-play scenario. Imagine Liam and Maya meeting in the office break room. Liam says, "Hi, Maya. How was your weekend?" Maya answers, "It was really relaxing. I just stayed home and read a book. What about you?" Liam says, "Mine was great. I went hiking with some friends on Saturday." Maya says, "Oh, that sounds fun. Which trail did you go to?" Liam replies, "We went to the one by the lake. The views were incredible." Do you see how natural and easy that sounds? Thinking in English is the key that unlocks these kinds of effortless conversations. One more powerful concept is to actively learn English collocations. As we mentioned, these are words that naturally belong together, like make a mistake, not do a mistake, or take a break, not have a break. When you know these natural word pairings, you don't have to pause and think about which words to use. For example, Instead of struggling to say, I need to produce a decision, your brain will automatically offer, I need to make a decision. Thinking in English becomes much quicker when your brain is filled with these ready-made chunks of language. Now, imagine you're at your desk and your manager says, we need to get this report finished by Friday. If you're thinking in English, you can reply instantly, sure thing, I'll make sure it's done on time. And D, it's simple, clear, professional, and natural. Another exercise that helps tremendously is simply talking to yourself in English. You don't need a conversation partner for this. You can do it anytime, anywhere. When you're walking, when you're doing the laundry, when you're driving. Just narrate what you're doing or thinking. Okay, I'm walking to the bus stop now. I need to remember to buy some milk on the way home. The weather is actually quite nice today. This might feel strange at first, but it's an incredibly powerful way to train your mind to verbalize thoughts in English. Before we move on to the next set of advanced tips, I want to emphasize something very important. Do not be afraid of making mistakes when you're thinking or speaking in English. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They are an essential part of the learning process. Even native speakers make mistakes in their speech sometimes. The ultimate goal is not perfection. It's clear, confident, and fluent communication. Now, let's do another short role play, this time at an airport. Ava says, "Hi, Liam. Are you all set for the flight?" Liam replies, "Yep, I already checked in online. How about you?" Ava says, "Same here. I just hope the flight isn't delayed." Liam answers, "Me too. I want to arrive on time because I have a meeting first thing in the morning." Ava says, "Don't worry, I'm sure everything will be fine." Practicing these kinds of common conversations in your mind will make you much faster and more confident when you face them in real life. Here's another story about one of my students, Zoe. Zoe was very shy and actively avoided speaking in English because she felt so nervous about her speed. I suggested she try a very simple technique to think about her daily routine in English as it was happening. When she woke up, she said in her head, "I am brushing my teeth. I am making breakfast. I am leaving for work." After just 2 weeks of this, she sent me a message saying, "Jessica, I feel so much more confident now because English is constantly in my mind." Now let's transition to some more advanced strategies for thinking in English. One very powerful method is to use English when you plan your day. For instance, instead of writing your to-do list in your native language, write it in English. Finish project report. Call the new client. Prepare presentation slides. This small but consistent habit forces your brain to operate in English for practical, goal-oriented tasks. You can also extend this to making decisions. For example, if you're in a clothing store trying to decide what to buy, have the internal debate in English. Should I get the red shirt or the blue one? The blue one would go better with my jeans, but the red one is on sale. Making choices in English is an excellent form of mental practice. Another fun and highly effective exercise is storytelling. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to tell yourself the story of your day in English, as if you were recounting it to a friend. For example, this morning I woke up a bit late, so I had to rush. I went for a short run in the park. Then I started working on that important project I mentioned. It was challenging, but I made good progress. This helps you practice using the past tense and improves your overall narrative fluency. Let me give you another real-life dialogue example. Imagine Liam and Ava are planning a team project. Liam says, "Okay, we need to decide who's going to handle each part of this project." Ava replies, "I can take the lead on the research section." Liam says, "Great. In that case, I'll take care of creating the presentation slides." Ava says, "Perfect. Let's schedule a meeting for tomorrow to check in on our progress." Liam replies, "Sounds good to me. See you then." These conversations are brief, simple, and exactly what you'd hear in a real office. When you think in English, you can create sentences like these on the fly. Now, let's touch upon pronunciation. Thinking in English can also indirectly improve your pronunciation because you begin to hear the sounds of the language more accurately in your mind. For example, if you are always thinking in your native language, your pronunciation might be heavily influenced by the phonetic patterns of that language. But when you actively think in English, you are also training your brain to recognize and produce authentic English sounds. Another interesting point is the link to confidence. Many learners lose confidence simply because they feel they take too long to answer questions. When you train yourself to think in English, your response time becomes much faster, which in turn makes you feel much more confident. And confidence makes a huge difference in every kind of interaction, from casual conversations to important job interviews and business meetings. I also want to share something important about conversing with native speakers. If you think in English, you will find it much easier to understand and appreciate things like jokes, idioms, and cultural references. For example, if a native speaker says, "Wow, it's raining cats and dogs out there," your brain won't get stuck trying to translate the literal words. Because you're in an English mode, you'll more easily recognize it as an idiom for heavy rain. Thinking in English helps you catch these nuances much more quickly. Let's do one final role play for this section. Imagine you are in a team meeting. The manager says, "We need some fresh ideas for the new marketing campaign." Liam says, "I think we should focus more on creating engaging content for social media." Ava adds, "That's a great point. We could create a series of short, informative videos to promote the product." The manager replies, "Excellent suggestions, both of you. Let's start developing this concept today." These sentences demonstrate how naturally ideas can flow when you are not hindered by the process of translation. Another powerful step for thinking in English is to deliberately surround yourself with the language in your physical and digital environment. For instance, a simple but effective change is to switch the language settings on your phone to English. When you unlock your phone, you will see Settings, Messages, and Calendar in English. This small adjustment forces your brain to engage with English every single time you use your device, reinforcing the language in a very practical context. Let me tell you about my student Owen. He works as a software developer and his company recently expanded, hiring people from many different countries. Owen wanted to communicate more effectively with his new colleagues, but he always felt he was speaking too slowly because he was translating every sentence in his mind. I suggested that he start his day with a small English ritual. He started reading a short tech article in English every morning over breakfast. Afterward, he would tell himself out loud what he had understood from the article. This article is about new developments in artificial intelligence. It explains how new tools can help automate coding tasks. After just 1 month of this practice, he sent me a message saying, "Jessica, I can now actively participate in our team's technical discussions without feeling anxious or left behind. Another incredibly useful method is to create imaginary conversations in your head. Actively think about what you might say in various common situations to a neighbor, a colleague, or even a cashier at a store. For example, imagine you are meeting your neighbor Ben by the mailboxes. Say in your head, "Hello, Ben. How are you doing today? The weather is lovely, isn't it? Did you have a productive morning?" Then imagine his potential response and continue the conversation in your mind. This type of mental rehearsal builds your ability to think on your feet and helps you feel more prepared for real-life interactions. Let's do a small role play based on this idea. Ben says, "Good morning, Jessica. Did you sleep well?" Jessica replies, "Yes, I slept very well, thank you. I woke up early to get a head start on some work. How about you?" Ben says, "I slept well too. I'm just heading out to the office now." Jessica replies, "Well, have a great day at work." This kind of brief and simple conversation becomes second nature when you train your mind to think directly in English. Here's another wonderful story. My friend Nora has 2 young children, and she wanted to create an English-speaking environment for them at home. She decided to speak only English with them during meal times. She would say things like, "Could you pass me the salt, please? Would you like some more juice?" Her children began to answer in simple English too. After a few weeks, the entire family had started thinking in English during meals. Nora told me, "This one habit made my own English feel so much more natural because I was using it every day in a real, meaningful context." Another technique that has helped many learners is physically labeling objects around your house with their English names. For example, put a small sticky note that says "mirror" on your mirror, or "door" on your door, or "kettle" on your kettle. Each time you see the object, you will automatically read the English word. Slowly, your brain will stop translating from your native language and will start directly associating the object with its English name. You can also improve your thinking speed by using questions and answers during your downtime. For example, when you are waiting for the bus, ask yourself, "What time is it? Where am I going? What will I do when I get there?" Then answer yourself in English. "It's 3:15. I'm going to the library. I'm going to return some books and pick up some new ones." These simple mental exercises create fast, direct neural connections in your mind. Now let's create another dialogue example, this time between Ava and her husband Leo planning their evening. Ava says, "Leo, should we cook dinner at home tonight or order takeout?" Leo replies, "I think we should cook at home. We have all those fresh vegetables from the market." Ava says, "Good idea. I can make a big salad and you can grill the chicken." Leo replies, "Perfect. Let's get started now so we can eat early and relax." This natural flow of ideas is what happens when you think in English, not when you have to pause to translate every single word. A very effective method for more advanced learners is to start thinking in full sentences instead of just single words. For example, don't just think apple. Instead, expand the thought, "This apple looks crisp and juicy." Don't just think office. Think, "I should arrive at the office in about 15 minutes. I need to remember to print my presentation notes." Thinking in complete sentences trains your brain to construct grammatically correct structures naturally and automatically. One of my advanced students, Maya, works as a project manager in a large corporation. She often had to lead meetings with international clients. In the beginning, she would write all her talking points in her native language first and then translate them into English. I encouraged her to start writing her meeting notes directly in English from the very beginning. She tried this, and within a few weeks, she no longer needed her native language as a crutch at work. She told me, "It's amazing." Now, my ideas for what to say in a meeting come to me in English first. You can also use memory stories to connect English words directly with images, bypassing translation. For example, if you want to remember the word bridge, don't just translate it. Instead, imagine yourself walking across a famous bridge like the Golden Gate Bridge and say in your mind, "I am walking across this long, red bridge. I can see the water below." This creates a strong, multi-sensory picture and a direct English connection. Let's practice with a travel example. Imagine you are visiting a new city and your colleague Liam is with you. Liam asks, "Jessica, do you know where the nearest subway station is?" Jessica replies, "Yes, I think it's just around that corner. We just need to walk for about 2 minutes." Liam says, "Great. I hope the train isn't too crowded." Jessica replies, "I think we'll be fine. It's still pretty early in the day." When you think in English, you can formulate these quick, helpful answers without any stress. Another advanced method is to explain things you already know very well in English. For example, if you know how to make a perfect cup of tea, explain the process to yourself in English. First, I fill the kettle with fresh water and bring it to a boil. Then I add a tea bag to my favorite mug. I wait for about 3 minutes before I take the bag out and add a splash of milk. This makes your thinking process active in English for subjects you are already an expert in, which builds confidence. One challenge that many learners face is the fear of speaking in front of others. Thinking in English helps to dissolve that fear because you no longer feel like you are reciting a translated script. You are simply sharing your thoughts as they come to you. For example, during a team lunch, you might naturally say, "I really like this restaurant. The food is always so fresh and the service is very quick." That sentence is simple, but it demonstrates a natural confidence that comes from direct thinking. Another story comes from a listener named Ian. He lives in Poland and works in an international logistics company. He used to write all his important emails in Polish first, then meticulously translate them. I challenged him to write his very next email directly in English, even if it wasn't perfect. He wrote a simple email, "Hello team, I will send the updated shipping schedule tomorrow morning. Please check the delivery times for the first section carefully." His email was clear, direct, and everyone understood it perfectly. From that day on, he stopped using translation as a safety net for his emails. Now let's try a more detailed role play, this time in a family situation. Nora says, "Ben, can you help our son with his science homework?" Ben replies, "Of course." "What topic is he studying right now?" Nora says he has to write 3 sentences about the life cycle of a butterfly. Ben replies, "Okay, I'll sit with him and help him write them in clear English." Nora says, "Thank you so much. After that, we can all have dinner together." This shows how families can also incorporate English into simple daily life, making the habit of thinking in English feel completely normal. Here is a useful mental exercise for the end of your day. Ask yourself 3 questions in English. What was the best moment of my day today? What did I learn? What is one thing I will do differently tomorrow? For example, the best moment was when I finally solved that difficult problem at work. I learned how to manage my time more effectively. Tomorrow, I will start a new task with a more positive attitude. By doing this regularly, your internal monologue, your thoughts about your own life, slowly but surely begin to shift into English. Another fantastic tip is to read out loud. When you read a short article or a page from a book in English, don't just read silently with your eyes. Read it out loud with your voice. Speaking the words forces your brain to be more active and helps you internalize the rhythm and structure of the language, which in turn helps you think in English much faster. Sometimes learners tell me, "Jessica, I just don't have enough time to practice every day." I always respond by saying, "You don't need long hours of dedicated study. Even 5 minutes of actively thinking in English during your walk to work, your bus ride, or while you're waiting in line at the supermarket can make a huge difference over time." Consistency is far more important than intensity. Let's do one more dialogue for a work-related context. The manager says, "Ava, did you finish the monthly client report?" Ava replies, "Yes, I finished it this morning. I'll send it over to you right now." The manager says, "Great work. Please also prepare a brief summary for the team meeting this afternoon." Ava replies, "Sure, I'll have it ready by lunch. Sine prakors." This is the kind of natural, efficient response you can give when your mind is trained to think directly in English. One last advanced technique for now is to use English when you plan your long-term future. If you are setting personal or professional goals, write them in English. I want to improve my speaking skills by practicing for 10 minutes every day. I will join an online language exchange group next month. I will start reading articles related to my profession in English. Writing your aspirations and goals in English creates a very deep and powerful connection with the language. Another very helpful way to start thinking in English is to practice making quick, simple decisions in your mind using English words. For example, you open your refrigerator and you see milk, eggs, and cheese. Instead of thinking about what to make in your native language, try to say to yourself, "I think I'll make an omelet." This simple action forces your brain to create direct, action-oriented sentences. Let me tell you about Ruby, a history teacher who moved to an English-speaking country with her family. She told me she always felt slow when speaking because she was so worried about making grammar mistakes. I advised her to start planning her students' lessons in her head in English before she even entered the classroom. She began saying to herself, "Okay, today I will teach them about ancient Rome. I will ask them to practice describing the Colosseum." After a few weeks of this, her students even commented that she seemed more relaxed and natural in her teaching. You can also use short audio recordings on your phone to train your brain. Every morning, take just 30 seconds to record yourself describing what you see from your window. For example, "I'm standing near the window. The sky is very gray this morning. I can see people walking to the bus stop." Listening back to it later helps you hear your own sentence patterns and identify areas for improvement in a low-pressure way. Here's another role-play example. Imagine Liam and Maya are planning a weekend trip. Liam says, "Maya, should we go to the mountains or the beach this weekend?" Maya replies, That's a tough choice. I think the beach would be more relaxing." Liam says, "I agree. I'll book a small hotel and you can be in charge of packing the snacks. Maya replies, "Perfect. We should leave early on Saturday to avoid the traffic." This short exchange is full of natural words and phrases that come quickly when you train your mind to think directly. Another important technique is to think about your feelings in English. Many learners focus on thinking about objects or actions, but emotions are a huge part of communication. For example, when you feel tired after a long day, say in your head, "I feel so exhausted because I worked a lot today." If you feel happy about an achievement, think, "I feel so proud of myself because I finished that difficult project." This practice builds your emotional vocabulary and makes your speaking feel much more authentic and human. Let me share a story about one of our listeners, Eli. He works in customer service and often speaks with clients from other countries. He told me he wanted to be able to answer their questions more quickly and naturally. I suggested that he keep a small notebook with common customer questions and his ideal answers in English. Each night, he would read them aloud. "How can I help you today? Would you like me to explain the process for you?" After about a month, he didn't even need the notebook anymore because his brain had internalized the sentences and could produce them automatically. You can also think in English when you plan your weekly schedule. For example, on Sunday evening, sit down and say to yourself, "Okay, tomorrow I have a meeting at 9 a.m. On Tuesday, I need to go to the dentist. On Friday, I'm going to have dinner with friends." These simple sentences make your future planning a part of your daily English practice. Now let's imagine a workplace dialogue with a bit more detail. Ava says, "Ben, do you have a moment to review the new project proposal?" Ben replies, "Yes, I can take a look at it this afternoon. Is there a specific deadline?" Ava says, "Yes, our manager wants our feedback by tomorrow morning." Ben replies, "Okay, no problem. I'll be sure to send you my comments by the end of the day." This example shows how short but clear sentences, filled with practical information, keep a professional conversation moving smoothly. An advanced habit to cultivate is explaining pictures in English. Open the photo gallery on your phone, pick a random picture, and describe it in detail. This is a picture of my family on holiday last year. The sun is shining and everyone is smiling. We are standing in front of a beautiful old castle. Doing this regularly builds your ability to create descriptive sentences about anything you see, which is a fantastic skill for storytelling. One of my students, Nora, used this technique with her old family photo albums. Every night she would describe 3 different photos in English. After just 2 weeks, she told me that her speaking in general felt much faster because she had stopped waiting for translations to pop into her head. You can also think in English when you give directions. For example, if someone asks you how to get to the post office, practice saying the directions in your head. Go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left at the traffic light. The post office is on the right next to the bank. Directions are a very common part of daily life, and practicing them helps you build a vocabulary of useful, practical expressions. Let's try another family dialogue. Nora says, "Ben, could you pick up the children from their music lesson today?" Ben replies, "Yes, of course. I'll finish my work early. What time does their lesson end?" Nora says, "It finishes at 4:30. Please remind them to bring their instruments home." Ben replies, "I'll be sure to do that." After we get home, we can all have some fruit as a snack. Conversations like this happen every single day in families around the world, and practicing them in English helps your thinking become completely automatic. Another great tip is to think in English when you set reminders on your phone or calendar. Instead of writing in your own language, write, "Buy groceries at 5 p.m." or "Call the office in the morning." Seeing these simple command sentences every day will make your brain more and more comfortable with English as a functional tool. Many people ask me, "Jessica, what should I do if I don't know a specific word in English when I'm trying to think?" My answer is always the same. Use a simpler word that you already know. Use the words you have. For example, if you can't remember the word enormous, just say very big. If you can't think of the word delicious, say tastes very good. Thinking in English doesn't mean you have to use advanced, complicated vocabulary. It means using clear, simple words quickly and effectively to express your ideas. Now here is a travel scenario. Imagine you are checking in at a hotel. The receptionist says, "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" No. You reply, "Yes, my name is Liam. I booked a double room for 2 nights. So, the receptionist says, "Welcome, Liam. Please fill out this registration form." You reply, "Of course. Could you also tell me what time breakfast starts in the morning?" The receptionist says, "Breakfast starts at 7 a.m. This example shows how a series of simple exchanges keeps communication easy, polite, and natural. You can also think in English by explaining the steps when you're fixing or building something. For example, first I need to find the right screwdriver. Next, I will carefully remove these 4 screws. Then I will replace the old battery with the new one. This is a very useful exercise for people who work with tools, machines, or even just follow recipes. Another story is about Henry, a small shop owner. He wanted to speak better English with his international customers. He started saying the name of every product in English as he arranged his shop in the morning. "This is fresh bread. These are red apples. Here is the sugar." After a few weeks of this simple habit, he could confidently tell customers the prices and details of his products in English without having to think about it. A good daily habit is to read short news headlines in English and then tell yourself the main idea in one simple sentence. For example, if the headline is "City Council approves plan for new public bridge," you can say to yourself, "The city is going to build a new bridge next year." This mental exercise makes your mind focus on understanding and summarizing important information, not on direct word-for-word translation. Let's create one more workplace conversation. A manager says, "Ava, please send the meeting notes from this morning to the entire team." Ava replies, "I will send them out before I leave for lunch." The manager says, "Thank you. Also, please double-check the final report for any errors." Ava replies, "Yes, I will proofread it right now." Short, direct sentences like these are exactly what native speakers use in their daily professional lives. You can also use English when you are shopping online. Read the product descriptions and customer reviews in English. For example, think to yourself, "This jacket is made of cotton. The size is medium. It has good reviews for its quality." Thinking like this connects the English language with real actions and decisions that you make often. Now let's imagine a new story about a man named Owen. Owen is a delivery driver. Every morning he checks his list of addresses and plans his route for the day. Today he has to deliver packages to 5 different houses. He starts with the house that is nearest to his location. He leaves the package safely at the door and takes a quick picture as proof of delivery. Then he gets back in his van and moves on to the next house. During his short breaks, he drinks plenty of water and eats a sandwich he prepared at home. Owen enjoys his work because he gets to meet new people, even if just for a moment, and he sees different parts of the city every single day. As you listen to Owen's story, ask yourself some small questions in English. How many deliveries does Owen have today? What does he do during his break? Why does he enjoy his work? Answering these questions in English trains your mind to think and process information quickly. For example, Owen has 5 deliveries today. He eats a sandwich during his break. He likes meeting new people and seeing the city. Let's do a short practice together right now. Imagine your own work or school day. Describe it in a few simple English sentences. I go to my office in the morning. I have 3 meetings. I eat lunch at my desk around noon. I go home and prepare dinner. Speaking or writing a simple narrative like this helps you think in English much more naturally. Now, here's another example from daily life. Maya and her husband Liam are planning what to have for dinner at home. Maya says, "Liam, should we cook pasta or rice tonight?" Liam replies, "I think pasta sounds better. We can make it with those fresh vegetables." Hippie. Maya says, "Good idea. I'll prepare the vegetables and you can be in charge of cooking the pasta." Liam replies, "Perfect. Let's start in about 10 minutes. This kind of simple, clear dialogue is very easy to remember and extremely practical. If you imagine yourself in this situation, you can also practice thinking in English in your own home. You can even try talking to yourself. I am cooking pasta. I need a knife and a cutting board. I will boil some water now. Another story comes from a listener named Ruby. She lives in London and works in a busy office. In the morning, while she prepares her coffee, she listens to a short English news podcast. Then she reads a few of her work emails. She tries to understand the main idea of each email and then repeats some of the key sentences in her mind. After a few weeks of this routine, she noticed that her listening comprehension had improved significantly, and she was able to answer questions much faster during her work meetings. Here is a helpful tip from Ruby's experience. Focus on the key words in every sentence you hear. You do not need to understand every single word to grasp the meaning. For example, if someone says, "The train to the city center is delayed due to unexpected maintenance," the key words are train, city center, and delayed. You understand the main point of the situation even if you don't know the exact meaning of the word maintenance. Now let's do a travel dialogue between Ava and her husband Leo. Ava says, "Leo, do you know where the taxi stand is?" Leo replies, "Yes, it's just outside the main hotel entrance. We need to go quickly because the airport is always busy at this time." Ava says, "I hope we're not late. Did we pack all of our luggage?" Leo replies, "Yes, I checked everything twice. Let's go now." By imagining this conversation in English, your mind gets to practice for real-life situations. Try repeating these sentences in your own words. "The taxi is at the entrance. We need to leave now. I hope we are on time." This helps you think much faster in English. Another exercise you can try at any time is simply describing your immediate surroundings. Look at a park, a street, or a room in your own home. Say in English, "There are 3 large trees. Several people are walking their dogs. A man is jogging on the path. The sky is very blue today." Simple observations like this improve your ability to think and articulate your thoughts in English naturally. Let's do a story about a student, a young boy named Eli. Eli wakes up at 6:30 a.m. He eats breakfast with his parents and then he walks to school. During the walk, he talks to his friends about their homework. At school, he studies math, science, and English. He enjoys his English class the most because he gets to read interesting stories and listen to short podcasts. After school, he plays football with his friends in the park and then comes home for dinner. Now, think about Eli's day and answer some simple questions in English. What time does Eli wake up? What does he eat for breakfast? What is his favorite class? Your answers might be, he wakes up at 6:30. He eats breakfast with his parents. His favorite class is English. This type of practice strengthens both your listening comprehension and your thinking skills at the same time. Now let's have another role play for a simple family life situation. Nora says, "Ben, could you please help me set the table for dinner?" Ben replies, "Of course. I'll put the plates and the cups on the table." Nora says, "Thank you. Could you also bring the bread and the water pitcher?" Ben replies, "Yes, I'll do that right now." Practicing short dialogues like this helps you prepare for real, everyday conversations. You can even practice them silently in your mind when you are alone. Imagine every step of an action and say it to yourself in English. Here is another useful tip. Think in English while you are doing small, mundane tasks. For example, when you are washing the dishes, say to yourself, "I am washing the plates now. The water is warm and soapy. I will dry the dishes with this towel." When you are cleaning your room, you can think, "I am picking up my clothes from the floor. I am organizing the books on my shelf." These small habits are incredibly powerful because they make English an integral part of your daily life. Now let us move to a shopping example. Ava says, "Leo, do we need to buy milk and bread for tomorrow morning?" Leo replies, "Yes, we need milk, bread, and some eggs." Ava says, "The little store near our home has very fresh bread. Let's go there." Leo replies, "Good idea. I'll grab the shopping bags." You can also make your own shopping list in English before you go to the store. For example, bread, eggs, milk, vegetables, fruit. Reading your list aloud a few times helps your mind connect the English words with the real actions you are about to perform. Another story comes from a listener named Ian. He wanted to improve his English specifically for his work environment. Every morning on his way to work, he would think about his tasks for the day in English. First, I need to check my emails. Then I will call the new client. After that, I will prepare the weekly report. Thinking like this every day helped him become much faster and more articulate in meetings because he no longer needed to translate his thoughts from his native language. Now another role play for a business conversation. A manager says, "Liam, please check the latest sales report and send your feedback to the team." Liam replies, "Yes, I will check it this afternoon and send my comments before the end of the day." The manager says, "Thank you. Also, please review the presentation slides for tomorrow's meeting." Liam replies, "I'll get on that right away." Notice how simple, clear, and efficient sentences make professional communication faster. When you train your mind to think in English, you will naturally start to create sentences like this. Another great practice is to describe the steps when you are preparing food. For example, first I am going to cut the vegetables. Then I will heat some oil in a pan. I will add the vegetables and cook them for about 5 minutes. Finally, I will serve the food on 2 plates. Explaining a process step by step like this trains your mind to form logical, sequential sentences automatically. Let's do a short story about Owen and his morning exercise routine. Owen wakes up at 6 a.m. every morning. He puts on his running shoes and goes to the nearby park. He runs for about 20 minutes and then does some stretching exercises afterward. He often meets his friend Ben at the park and they jog together. After their run, Owen drinks a bottle of water and then goes home to take a shower before work. Thinking about common activities like this in English is a very effective form of practice. Now, let's imagine a story about a woman named Zoe. Zoe is a nurse, and she starts her day very early. She gets ready, has a quick breakfast, and then drives to the hospital. When she arrives, she checks her schedule for the day and prepares all the medical equipment she will need. Today, she has to care for 5 different patients. Each patient has a different health issue, so Zoe must listen to them very carefully and give clear instructions in English. She talks to her patients with a calm and reassuring voice. Please take this medicine twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. Remember to drink a full glass of water after each meal. Please call me if you feel any pain or discomfort. Zoe enjoys her job because she loves helping people get better, and she also learns new medical vocabulary every day. After listening to Zoe's story, try to ask yourself some questions in English. What time does Zoe start her work? How many patients does she have to see today? What kind of instructions does she give them? Now answer in English. She starts her work early. She has to see 5 patients. She tells them to take their medicine and drink water. This type of questioning and answering helps your brain to think in English automatically. Let's practice a small dialogue based on this situation. A patient says, "Zoe, I'm feeling a little bit dizzy." Zoe replies, "Please sit down on the bed and drink some water slowly. Did you eat breakfast this morning?" The patient says, "Yes, I had some toast and a glass of milk." Zoe replies, "That's good. Please rest for about 10 minutes and call me if the dizziness continues." Practicing these kinds of conversations in your mind or out loud trains your brain to think very fast in English. You can change the context to anything you like. Maybe a friend, a family member, or a colleague needs some advice, and you can imagine yourself answering their questions clearly and helpfully in English. Another very effective technique is storytelling. Try to tell a short and simple story in English about your day or about someone you know. For example, "This morning, I woke up at 7 a.m. I brushed my teeth and had breakfast. Then I went to the park and met my friend for a walk." You can add small details to make your story more interesting, like the sun was shining and the birds were singing. These little details make your sentences more complex and your speaking more natural. Now let's practice a dialogue for a family shopping trip. Nora says, "Ben, we need some fresh vegetables for dinner tonight. Could you please go to the market?" Ben replies, "Yes, of course. I'll get some tomatoes, onions, and carrots." Nora says, "Great. Please also check if they have any fresh spinach." Ben replies, "Sure thing. I'll bring everything home by 5 p.m. In everyday life, short and practical sentences like these are what help you speak fluently. If you imagine yourself doing these activities, your brain will start to form the necessary sentences automatically in English. Another story is about Ian, a young man who loves gardening. Every morning he waters his plants, removes any dead leaves, and checks for any bugs. He often talks to himself in English while he's working in his garden. I think I need more water for these beautiful flowers. The soil feels a bit dry. I will plant some new seeds tomorrow. Talking to yourself in English while you are doing your tasks and hobbies is a fantastic way to strengthen your thinking skills and make speaking much easier over time. You can also practice giving directions in English. Imagine you are helping a tourist who is lost in your city. You could say something like, "Go straight for about 2 blocks, then turn right when you see the traffic light." The post office is on the corner, right next to the big bank. Practicing this type of instruction often will prepare you for many real-life situations. Let's do another role play for a travel situation. A receptionist says, "Hello, do you have a reservation with us? Sawati?" You reply, "Yes, my name is Ava. I booked a room for 3 nights." The receptionist says, "Welcome, Ava. Please fill out this registration form for me." You reply, "Thank you. Could you also tell me what time breakfast is served?" See, the receptionist says, "Breakfast starts at 7 a.m. every day in the dining hall." Now, here's a simple daily life exercise. Describe your morning routine in English without translating from your native language. For example, I wake up at 6:30. I take a shower. I make a cup of tea. I eat breakfast with my family. Then I leave for work. Doing this every single morning is a powerful way to train your brain to speak English naturally. Another great technique is to compare 2 things in English. For example, this road is longer, but it is much more beautiful. This coffee is sweeter than the other one. The bus is faster, but the car is more comfortable. Making these kinds of comparisons helps you to form more complex sentences in a very natural way. Let's imagine a story about a man named Owen. Owen is an office worker. He starts his work at 9 a.m. every morning. He checks his emails, answers calls from clients, and writes reports. At 12 p.m., he takes a short lunch break and talks to his colleague, Maya. She asks, "Did you finish the project report, Sil?" Owen replies, "Yes, I sent it to the manager this morning. I also prepared the notes for our next meeting." After lunch, Owen works on the presentation for the company-wide meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow. Now, think about Owen's day and answer some questions in English. What time does Owen start his work? What does he do during his lunch break? Who does he talk to? Your answers might be, he starts work at 9 a.m. He talks to Maya during his lunch break. He prepares a presentation for tomorrow. This kind of exercise strengthens your listening and thinking skills together. Next, let's practice a dialogue for a family situation. Ava says, "Liam, could you please set the table for dinner?" Liam replies, "Yes, I will bring the plates and the cups. Should I get some water for the table too?" Ava says, "Yes, please, and could you also bring the bread?" Liam replies, "Okay, I will bring everything in just 5 minutes." Small family conversations like these are very practical and help your mind get used to thinking in English in real-life situations. Another valuable tip is to explain how to do something simple in English. For example, explain how to make tea. First, I boil some water. Then, I add a tea bag to a cup. I wait for about 3 minutes, and then I pour the hot water into the cup. Finally, I serve the tea. Explaining a process step by step helps you to form full sentences automatically and logically. Let's do a story about a student named Ruby. Ruby studies at home in the evening. She reads an English book for 20 minutes. Then she writes 5 sentences about her day in her journal. I woke up at 7 a.m. I ate breakfast. I went to school. I studied English and math. I came home and did my homework. Writing in English every day is a fantastic way to train your brain to think in English without the need for translation. Another exercise is to describe pictures in English. Look at a photo or an image and say what you see. This is a picture of a park. Some people are walking. A few children are playing on the swings. The sky is clear. The trees are very green. Using full sentences and adding details like this improves your English fluency in a natural and enjoyable way. Let's do a short shopping dialogue. Nora says, Ben, we need milk, eggs, and bread. Ben replies, I will go to the market and get them. Do we need any fruit too? Nora says, yes, please get some apples and bananas. Thank you. Ben replies, I will bring everything home by 5 p.m. Practicing shopping dialogues, family conversations, and work conversations helps you to think in English for all aspects of your daily life. You can even imagine doing these activities silently and practice them in your mind. Another great tip is to ask yourself questions in English throughout the day. For example, what time is it now? Where am I going? What will I do next? Then answer yourself in English. It is 3 p.m. I am going to the park. I will meet my friend there. This simple exercise trains your brain to think very quickly without needing to translate. Finally, a travel story. Ava and her husband Leo are at the airport. Ava says, Leo, did you check our tickets? Leo replies, yes, I have them on my phone. Did you pack your bag? Ava says, yes, everything is ready. Let's go to the check-in counter now. Leo replies, okay, I hope the flight is on time. These daily life examples, short dialogues, and small stories are all very useful for your listening, thinking, and speaking practice. Let's imagine a story about a man named James. James is a bus driver in a big city. Every morning he starts his bus route at 5:30 a.m. He carefully checks the bus, making sure all the doors and lights are working correctly, and he greets every passenger as they enter. Good morning. Welcome on board. During the route, he clearly announces the upcoming stops. Next stop, Central Park. Please have your ticket ready. James enjoys meeting different people every day and hearing their short stories. Now think in English about James's day. Ask yourself, what time does James start work? What does he do before starting his route? How does he greet the passengers? Then, answer in English. He starts at 5:30 a.m. He checks the bus. He greets passengers with good morning. Doing this regularly helps your brain switch to thinking in English naturally. Here's a practical dialogue from James's day. A passenger asks, "Excuse me, is this bus going to the train station?" James replies, "Yes, this bus goes to the train station. It will take about 15 minutes from here." The passenger says, "Thank you." James replies, "You're welcome. Have a good day." Short dialogues like these are very helpful for daily practice. You can imagine yourself speaking in English when you meet strangers, ask for information, or give simple directions. Another story is about a student named Olivia. Olivia is learning English, and her goal is to speak fluently. Every evening, she reads a short story in English. After reading, she summarizes the story in her own words. The story is about a young boy who finds a lost dog. He takes good care of the dog and eventually finds its owner. The boy feels happy and proud of himself. Summarizing stories in English trains your brain to think and organize complex sentences without relying on translation. You can also describe your surroundings in English at any moment. For example, right now, I am sitting in my room. There's a desk in front of me with a laptop on it. I see a chair and a bookshelf filled with books. Outside the window, the trees are moving gently in the wind. Describing small details every day improves your active vocabulary and helps you think much more quickly in English. Let's do another role play for a family situation. Nora says, "Ben, could you please help me water the plants in the garden?" Ben replies, "Yes, of course. I will water the flowers first and then the vegetables." Nora says, "Thank you. Can you also check if the garden needs more soil?" Ben replies, "Sure, I will do that right now." Practicing small tasks in English like this trains your mind to form natural and grammatically correct sentences. You can even practice silently while you are doing your chores. For example, I am washing the dishes. I am cleaning the table. I am folding the clothes. Sienindi. Now let's move to a workplace example. Maya works in an office. She starts her day by checking her emails. One email says, "Please prepare the report for the meeting tomorrow morning." She replies, "Yes, I will finish the report and send it to you before 5 p.m. today." During the day, she talks to her colleague. "Do you need any help with your task?" Her colleague replies, "Yes, please. Could you just check these numbers for me?" Simple sentences like these are very common in offices, and practicing them helps you to think fast in English in a professional context. Another story is about a man named Henry who loves to cook. He decides to make a special dinner for his wife, Ava. First, he chops the vegetables. "I will cut the carrots and the onions." Then, he thinks, "I will heat some oil in the pan." Next, he adds the vegetables and cooks them for 10 minutes. He prepares some rice and sets the table beautifully. Finally, he serves the food and says, "Dinner is ready." This is a very natural way to practice step-by-step sentences in English. Let's do a short dialogue for shopping. Ava says, "Ben, we need some cheese and milk for breakfast tomorrow." Ben replies, "I will buy them on my way home." "Should I get some eggs too?" Ava says, "Yes, please get eggs and some fresh bread." "Thank you." Ben replies, "I will bring everything home by 6 p.m. Practicing dialogues like these improves both your listening and your speaking skills. You can even imagine yourself shopping in English and describe every item in your mind. I am buying apples. I am paying for the bread. I am taking the receipt. Another valuable tip is to practice giving directions. For example, go straight for 2 blocks. Then turn left at the supermarket. The pharmacy is next to the bank. You can even imagine a map in your mind and describe the route in English. This simple exercise trains your brain to form complete and logical sentences very quickly. Now, a short story about a man named Michael. Michael is a teacher. He wakes up early, drinks a cup of tea, and prepares his lessons for the day. He teaches his students English, math, and science. During his class, he often asks, "Who has finished the homework?" The students reply, and Michael gives them feedback. "Good job. Please check your answers one more time." After class, he writes notes about what he needs to improve for the next lesson. Now, think in English about Michael's day and answer these questions. What time does Michael wake up? What subjects does he teach? How does he give feedback to his students? The answer might be he wakes up early. He teaches English, math, and science. He gives positive feedback. Another family dialogue. Nora says, "Ben, can you please take out the trash?" Ben replies, "Yes, I will take it out after dinner." Nora says, "Thank you. Can you also recycle the plastic bottles?" Ben replies, "Sure, I will do it right now." These simple sentences are very useful for daily conversations. You can also describe your own actions out loud. I am cleaning my room. I am organizing my books. I am washing the clothes. Now let's try a story about a traveler named Alice. Alice goes to the airport with her husband, John. She checks the flight information on the big screen. The flight to Paris leaves at 10 a.m. The gate is number 7. They go through security and wait in the departure lounge. Alice says, "I hope our flight is on time." John replies, "Yes, we have plenty of time. Let's sit near the gate and relax." This story shows how you can use English naturally in various travel situations. Another great tip is to explain your daily routine in English to yourself. For example, I wake up at 6:30. I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast. I go to work. I finish work at 5 p.m. I come home and have dinner. Explaining your routine out loud every day will significantly improve your fluency. Now, a shopping dialogue for practice. Ava says, "Liam, do we need some juice for the party on Saturday?" Liam replies, "Yes, let's buy some orange juice and some apple juice. Also, we should get some snacks." Ava says, "Okay, can you check if the store has any fresh bread?" Liam replies, "Sure, I will get everything we need and bring it home." Small, practical dialogues like these are easy to remember and will help your mind think in English for everyday situations. Another story is about a man named Robert who enjoys jogging. Every morning he puts on his running shoes, drinks some water, and goes to the park. He greets his friend Tom. "Good morning. Are you ready to run?" Tom replies, "Yes, let's start with a short warm-up." They jog together and talk. "How was your weekend? Did you visit your parents?" Conversations like this help you to use English naturally in social situations. Next, you can describe what you see around you in English. For example, I see a blue car. A man is walking his dog. 2 children are playing with a ball. The sun is shining brightly. Practicing these simple observations trains your brain to think very quickly in English. Another short family scenario. Nora says, "Ben, could you help me cook dinner tonight?" Ben replies, "Yes, of course. I will chop the vegetables. What should I cook first?" Nora says, "Let's start with the soup. Then we can make some rice and chicken." Ben replies, "Perfect. I will do that right now." Practicing dialogues, storytelling, describing your surroundings, and explaining your daily routines all help your brain to switch to thinking in English naturally and effortlessly. Let's imagine a story about a young woman named Hannah. Hannah works in a small, cozy cafe in her city. She wakes up at 6 a.m., gets ready, and walks to the cafe, enjoying the quiet morning air. The cafe opens at 7 a.m., and she spends the first hour preparing the coffee machine, setting out fresh pastries, and getting everything ready for the day's customers. Many people arrive for their morning coffee, and Hannah greets each one with a friendly smile. "Good morning. What can I get for you today?" She takes their orders efficiently. "Would you like a cappuccino or a latte? Do you want a sandwich or just a pastry with that?" Serving customers every day has greatly improved her English because she is constantly practicing her listening and speaking skills in a fast-paced, real-world environment. Now, let's think in English about Hannah's morning. Ask yourself a few simple questions. What time does she wake up? What does she prepare for the customers? How does she greet people? Then try to answer them in English. She wakes up at 6 a.m. She prepares coffee, tea, and sandwiches. She says, "Good morning. What can I get for you today?" Answering simple questions like this trains your brain to process information and form responses directly in English without needing to translate. Let's do a short dialogue from Hannah's work. A customer says, "Can I have a large cappuccino, please?" Hannah replies, "Of course. Would you like that with regular milk or oat milk?" The customer says, "With regular milk, please." Hannah replies, "Thank you. That will be ready for you in just a minute." You can imagine yourself in this cafe and practice these sentences aloud. Repeating common dialogues like these helps you to build the confidence to speak clearly and naturally in real-life situations. Another story is about a man named Peter. Peter loves to read the news in English every morning. He sits down with his coffee and reads headlines about world events, sports, and technology. After reading an article, he tries to explain the main points in his own words, as if he were telling a friend. So there was a big football match in England yesterday, and a major technology company is planning to release a new smartphone next month. Explaining information in your own words is a fantastic way to improve both your comprehension and your speaking skills, because it trains your brain to form sentences independently rather than just repeating what you have read. Now, let's practice giving instructions. Imagine you are helping a friend cook a simple meal. You could say, "First, we need to wash the vegetables. Then, let's cut them into small pieces. After that, we can heat some oil in a pan and add the vegetables. We'll cook them for about 10 minutes. Finally, we can serve them on plates." Using step-by-step sentences like this makes your English very clear, logical, and easy for other people to follow. Another role play for a travel situation. A receptionist at a hotel says, "Good morning. Do you have a reservation with us?" You reply, "Yes, my name is Ben. I booked a room for 2 nights online." The receptionist says, "Welcome, Ben. Here is your room key. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the restaurant on the ground floor." You reply, "Thank you. Could you also tell me where the elevator is?" "Oh," the receptionist says, "The elevator is just on your right, past the seating area." Practicing dialogues like this prepares you for common real-life situations, such as checking into a hotel or asking for basic information. Now, a story about a man named Kevin. Kevin is a high school teacher. He wakes up at 6:30 a.m., drinks a cup of tea, and prepares his lesson plans for the day. He teaches history and English to his students. During his class, he often asks questions to get the students involved. Who knows the answer to this question? Can anyone explain this concept in their own words in English? The students respond, and Kevin provides them with encouraging feedback. That's a very good answer. Remember to speak clearly and slowly so that everyone in the class can understand you. After class, Kevin reviews the day's lessons and makes some notes for what he will teach his students tomorrow. Think in English about Kevin's day. Ask yourself, what time does he wake up? What subjects does he teach? How does he give feedback to his students? Then answer. He wakes up at 6:30. He teaches history and English. He says, "Good answer. Speak clearly." This type of reflection helps your brain to think and process information directly in English. Another family dialogue. Ava says, "Liam, could you please set the table for dinner?" Liam replies, "Yes, I will put out the plates and the glasses. Do you want me to pour water for everyone too?" Ava says, "Yes, please. And could you also bring the bread basket from the kitchen?" Liam replies, "Okay, I'll do it right now." Small family conversations like these are very practical for learning and practicing everyday English. You can also practice silently while you are doing your own chores. I am cleaning the table. I am putting the plates down. I am pouring the water. Next, a story about a man named Tom. Tom enjoys jogging in the park every morning. He often greets his friend, John. "Good morning. Are you ready for a run today?" John replies, "Yes, absolutely." "Let's start with a short warm-up." They jog together and talk about their lives. "How was your weekend? Did you manage to visit your parents?" Practicing small conversations while imagining scenarios like this trains your brain to think and respond in English naturally. Now let's practice describing your surroundings in English. For example, look around you and say, "I see a red car parked across the street. A man is walking his small white dog. Some children are playing on the grass over there. The sky is clear and very blue today." Observing and describing everyday scenes is a great way to improve your vocabulary and your fluency. Another story is about a woman named Sarah who loves gardening. She waters her plants, removes any weeds, and often talks to herself in English while she works. "These flowers need some more water. The soil is feeling quite dry today. I think I will plant some new seeds in this spot tomorrow." Talking to yourself while you are doing your small tasks and hobbies is a powerful way to strengthen your ability to think and speak in English naturally. Let's do a short shopping dialogue. Ava says, "Liam, we need some bread and milk for breakfast tomorrow." Liam replies, "I will buy them on my way home from work." "Do we need any eggs too?" Ava says, "Yes, please get some eggs and a block of cheese." "Thank you so much." Liam replies, "I will bring everything home by 5 p.m. Practicing shopping dialogues, family conversations, and small talk every day helps you to think much more quickly in English. You can even imagine yourself doing these activities silently and describe each step out loud or in your head. Now, a story about a student named Lucy. Lucy studies at home in the evening. She reads an English book for 20 minutes, and then she writes 5 sentences about her day in her journal. "I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning. I ate breakfast with my family. I went to my school. I studied English and science. I came home and did my homework." Writing simple sentences like this every day helps your brain to think and structure thoughts in English naturally, without the need for translation. Another useful tip is to explain simple routines. For example, first, I brush my teeth. Then, I wash my face. After that, I drink a cup of tea and eat some breakfast. Finally, I get ready and go to work. Explaining your daily routines in English trains your mind to form logical, sequential sentences automatically. A short travel dialogue for practice. A receptionist says, "Hello, do you have a reservation?" You reply, "Yes, my name is Ava. I booked a room for 3 nights." The receptionist says, "Welcome, Ava. Here is your room key. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. You reply, "Thank you." Could you also tell me where the elevator is? The receptionist says, "It is just on your right." Small and practical dialogues like these will greatly improve your confidence when you are speaking English in real-life situations. Now let's imagine a story about a man named Andrew. Andrew works as a mechanic in a small garage. He wakes up very early every day, eats a quick breakfast, and puts on his work uniform. Today he has 3 cars that he needs to repair. The first car has a flat tire. Andrew carefully removes the old tire, replaces it with a new one, and then checks the air pressure. The second car needs an oil change. He carefully drains all of the old, dark oil and adds fresh, new oil. The third car has a problem with its brakes. Andrew examines the brakes, replaces the old brake pads, and then tests them to make sure they are working perfectly. He enjoys his work because he learns something new every day, and he loves to see satisfied customers leaving the garage with their cars running smoothly. Now, think in English about Andrew's day. Ask yourself, what is the first problem he fixes? Let's imagine a story about a student named Laura. Laura studies at home every evening. She starts by reading a short English article, usually about travel. After she finishes reading, she summarizes the main points of the article in her own words. The article is about a family that visited Paris. They saw the Eiffel Tower and tried some local food. They really enjoyed the city and they took many beautiful pictures. Summarizing in English is a fantastic exercise that trains your brain to think in complete sentences without relying on translation. Next, Laura writes down any new words she learned from the article and practices saying them out loud. Museum, sightseeing, guide. Delicious. Crowded. Repeating new vocabulary while trying to use it in your own sentences helps you to remember it much better. For example, she might say to herself, "The museum was very big. The city was crowded, but the food was delicious." Now, let's practice a travel dialogue. A receptionist says, "Good morning. Do you have a reservation with us?" Laura replies, "Yes, my name is Laura. I booked a room for 2 nights. The receptionist says, "Welcome, Laura. Here's your room key. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the dining hall." Laura replies, "Thank you. Could you please tell me where the elevator is?" The receptionist says, "It is on your left." Practicing dialogues like this prepares you for real-life travel situations and significantly improves your fluency. Now, let's look at a story about a man named Daniel. Daniel works in an office. He starts his day by checking his emails. One email says, "Please prepare the report for the meeting tomorrow." Daniel replies, "Yes, I will finish the report and send it to you before 5 p.m. today." Later, he talks to his colleague. "Do you need any help with your project?" His colleague replies, "Yes, please. Could you just check these numbers for me?" Simple conversations like this are very common in offices and are a great way to practice thinking in English in a professional context. Another practical dialogue from the workplace. A manager says, "Daniel, please review the presentation slides before our meeting." Daniel replies, "Sure. I will check them now and send my feedback to the team." The manager says, "Thank you. Please make sure everything is ready by 3 p.m. Daniel replies, "I will do that." Now, a family story. Ava and her husband Liam are cooking dinner together. Ava says, "Liam, could you please chop the onions?" Liam replies, "Yes, of course. I will chop them. Do you want me to cut the tomatoes as well?" Ava says, Yes, please. I will start cooking the chicken. Liam replies, Okay, I will finish cutting the vegetables and then I will wash the dishes. Short dialogues like these help you to think in English naturally while you are doing your everyday activities. Next, a story about a man named Peter who enjoys jogging. Every morning he puts on his running shoes, drinks a glass of water, and goes to the park. He meets his friend John. Good morning. Are you ready for a run? John replies, Yes, let's start with a 5-minute warm-up. Peter says, Great. After we jog, we can stretch and then walk for a few minutes. John replies, That sounds good. I really enjoy running in the park early in the morning. Practicing simple conversations about your sports or hobbies is a great way to improve your fluency and build your confidence in speaking. Now let's do a practical home situation. Nora says, Ben, could you please water the plants? Ben replies, Yes, I will water the flowers first and then the vegetables in the garden. Nora says, Thank you. Can you also check if the garden needs any more soil? Ben replies, Sure, I will do that right now. Imagining your daily activities and speaking them out loud in English makes the process of thinking in English much easier and more automatic. Another story is about a man named James. James works as a delivery driver. He starts his day by checking his list of addresses. His first stop is a grocery store where he picks up a package. His second stop is a house where he rings the doorbell. Hello, I have a delivery for you. The customer signs the form, and James moves on to the next address. He enjoys his work because he gets to meet different people and he discovers new streets in his city every single day. Now, think in English about James's day. Where does he go first? What does he say to the customer? Why does he like his job? And the answers are, he goes to the grocery store first. He says, Hello, I have a delivery for you. He enjoys meeting new people. Practicing simple questions and answers like this helps you to think and respond much more quickly in English. Next, a dialogue for shopping practice. Ava says, Liam, we need some milk, eggs, and bread. Liam replies, I will buy them. Should I get some fruit as well? Ava says, Yes, please get some apples and some bananas. Liam replies, Okay, I will bring everything home by 6 p.m. Practicing small dialogues like this every day is a great way to improve your speaking confidence. You can also imagine yourself shopping alone and describe what you are buying. I am buying milk. I am paying for the bread. I am taking the receipt. Now, a story about a student named Lucy. Lucy studies English at home in the evening. She reads a short story for 20 minutes, and then she writes sentences about her day in her journal. I woke up at 7 a.m. I ate breakfast. I went to school. I studied English and math. I came home and did my homework. Writing simple sentences every day is a powerful way to train your brain to think in English naturally. Next, let's practice giving directions. Imagine you are guiding a visitor in your city. Go straight for 2 blocks. Turn left at the supermarket. The pharmacy is next to the bank. Then cross the street and the library is on your right. Awantiwan. Practicing giving directions improves both your speaking and your listening skills. Another story is about a man named Michael. Michael is a teacher. He wakes up at 6:30 a.m., drinks a cup of tea, and prepares his lessons. During his class, he asks his students, "Who has finished the homework? Can anyone explain it in English?" The students answer, and Michael says, "Good job." Remember to speak clearly. After class, he reviews his notes for the next lesson. Now, think in English about Michael's day. What time does he wake up? What questions does he ask his students? How does he give them feedback? And the answers are, he wakes up at 6:30 a.m. He asks, "Who has finished the homework?" He says, "Good job. Speak clearly." Reflecting in English like this trains your mind to respond much more quickly. Now, a travel scenario. Ava and her husband Liam are at the airport. Ava says, "Liam, did you check our tickets?" Liam replies, "Yes, everything is ready." "Did you pack your bag?" Ava says, "Yes, let's go to the check-in counter now." Liam replies, "I hope our flight is on time." Imagining travel situations and practicing the dialogues that go with them is a great way to improve your fluency and prepare you for real-life scenarios. Another family dialogue. Nora says, "Ben, could you please set the table for dinner?" Ben replies, "Yes, I will put out the plates, the glasses, and the utensils. Should I bring some water too?" Nora says, "Yes, and don't forget the bread." Ben replies, "Okay, everything will be ready in 5 minutes." Practicing these everyday conversations helps you to speak English naturally and think very quickly. Now, a story about a man named Robert. Robert enjoys cooking every evening. He prepares a salad first. "I will cut the tomatoes and the cucumbers. I will add some olive oil and some salt." Then he cooks some rice and grills some chicken. He sets the table and says, "Dinner is ready." His wife joins him, and they enjoy the meal together. Now think in English. What does Robert prepare first? How does he cook the rice? What does he say when dinner is ready? And the answers are, he prepares a salad first. He cooks rice and grills chicken. He says, "Dinner is ready." Let's imagine a story about a woman named Olivia. Olivia works in a bakery. She wakes up every morning at 5:30 a.m., puts on her apron and prepares fresh bread and pastries. Today she is making croissants and muffins. She carefully measures all the ingredients, mixes the dough, and places it in the oven. While the items are baking, she talks to her assistant. "Please check the oven temperature." "Are the muffins rising well?" Her assistant replies, "Yes, they look perfect." Olivia enjoys her work because she can see the delicious results of her effort, and she loves to greet happy customers every single day. Now think in English. What does Olivia make today? How does she check the dough? Why does she enjoy her job? And the answers are, she makes croissants and muffins. She checks the oven temperature. She enjoys seeing happy customers. Practicing these simple questions and answers trains your brain to respond in English very quickly. Let's practice a short bakery dialogue. A customer says, "Good morning. Do you have any fresh bread?" Olivia replies, "Yes, the bread just came out of the oven. Would you like a loaf?" The customer says, "Yes, please." "How much is it?" Olivia replies, "It is $5. Here is your bread. Enjoy your day." Imagining yourself in this situation and repeating these sentences out loud helps you to speak more naturally in English. Next, let's imagine a man named David. David works as a photographer. Every morning he checks his camera, his battery, and his memory card. Today he is photographing a family in a park. He says, "Please stand close together, smile, and look at the camera." The family smiles and David takes several photos. He tells them, "These pictures will be ready for you tomorrow. You will love them." Practicing sentences about your daily tasks helps you to speak English with much more confidence. Now think in English. What does David check before he starts his work? Who is he photographing today? What does he tell the family? And the answers are, he checks his camera, his battery, and his memory card. He is photographing a family. He says the pictures will be ready tomorrow. A short photography dialogue. A parent says, "Can you please take a photo of all of us together?" David replies, "Yes, of course. Please stand right here. Now everyone smile at the camera." The parent says, "Thank you. Will we be able to get the pictures today?" David replies, "No, they will be ready tomorrow. I will send them to you by email." Next, a story about a man named Samuel. Samuel works as a gardener. Every morning he waters the plants, trims the bushes, and checks the flowers. He often talks to himself in English. "These roses need some more water. The soil is quite dry. I think I will plant some new seeds over here tomorrow." Talking to yourself while you are doing your tasks is a great way to help your brain think in English naturally. Now, think in English. What does Samuel do in the morning? How does he check the plants? What does he say to himself? And the answers are, he waters the plants and trims the bushes. He checks if the soil is dry. Now, a family scenario. Ava and Liam are preparing breakfast together. Ava says, "Liam, could you please make the coffee?" Liam replies, "Yes, I will. Do you want sugar and milk in yours?" Ava says, "Yes, please add some milk, but no sugar." Liam replies, "Okay, breakfast will be ready in 5 minutes." Practicing these simple family conversations is a great way to improve your fluency and your ability to think in English naturally. Next, a story about a man named Alex. Alex is a taxi driver. Every morning he checks his taxi, starts the engine, and drives to pick up his first passenger. He greets the passenger politely. "Good morning. Where would you like to go today?" The passenger replies, "Please take me to the train station." Alex drives carefully and gives some information. "We will take the main road to avoid the traffic. It will take about 20 minutes. He enjoys meeting new people every day and speaking English with his passengers. Now, think in English. Who is Alex's first passenger? Where do they want to go? What does Alex say to them? And the answers are, the first passenger is going to the train station. Alex says they will take the main road and it will take about 20 minutes. A short taxi dialogue. A passenger says, "Can you please take me to the airport?" Alex replies, "Yes, of course. It will take about 30 minutes from here. Do you want to go by the highway?" The passenger says, "Yes, please." Alex replies, "Okay, we will arrive in 30 minutes. Next, a story about a woman named Hannah. Hannah works in a small office. She starts her day by checking her emails and replying to clients. One email says, "Please send the invoice for last month." Hannah replies, "Yes, I will prepare it and send it to you by 2 p.m. today." She also talks to her colleague. "Do you need any help with that report?" Her colleague replies, "Yes, could you please check these figures for me?" Small office conversations like this are very useful for practicing English in professional situations. Now, think in English. What does Hannah do in the morning? How does she reply to the emails? What does she ask her colleague? And the answers are, she checks her emails and replies to clients. She says she will send the invoice. She asks her colleague if they need any help. Now, a short home scenario. Nora says, "Ben, could you please help me fold the clothes?" Ben replies, "Yes, I will fold the shirts and the pants first." Nora says, "Thank you. Can you also organize the towels?" Ben replies, "Sure, I will do that right after I finish folding the clothes." Practicing dialogues about household tasks helps you to think and speak English naturally in your everyday situations. Next, a story about a man named Michael. Michael enjoys jogging every morning. He stretches, warms up, and then runs in the park. He meets a friend, Peter. "Good morning. Are you ready for today's run?" Peter replies, "Yes, let's start with 5 minutes of warm-up exercises." Michael says, "After we jog, we can walk for a few minutes to cool down." Peter replies, "That sounds good. I really enjoy running early in the morning." Practicing conversations about your hobbies and sports helps you to speak English naturally in social situations. Another story is about a woman named Sophie. Sophie loves baking cakes. She prepares all the ingredients, mixes the batter, and puts it in the oven. While she is baking, she talks out loud in English. "I need a little more sugar. The cake will bake for 30 minutes. I will check it in 10 minutes. Talking out loud while you are doing your tasks is a powerful way to strengthen your ability to think and speak in English fluently. Now, a travel scenario. Ava and Liam are at a train station. Ava says, "Liam, did you check which platform our train is on?" Liam replies, "Yes, we need to go to platform 3. Let's go before the train arrives." Ava says, "Okay, I hope the train is on time." Practicing dialogues for travel situations is a great way to improve your confidence in real-life English conversations. Another family scenario. Nora says, "Ben, could you please help me clean the kitchen?" Ben replies, "Yes, I will wash the dishes first. Should I wipe the counters too?" Nora says, "Yes, please, and don't forget the table." Ben replies, "Okay, I will finish everything in 10 minutes. Practicing everyday tasks in English helps you to speak naturally and think very quickly. Next, a story about a man named Robert. Robert enjoys cooking dinner for his family. He prepares a salad. "I will cut the tomatoes and the cucumbers. I will add some olive oil and some salt." Then he cooks some rice and grills some chicken. He sets the table and announces, "Dinner is ready." His wife joins him and they enjoy the meal together. Now think in English. What does Robert prepare first? How does he cook the rice? What does he say when dinner is ready? And the answers are, he prepares a salad first. He cooks rice and grills chicken. He says dinner is ready. Let's imagine a story about a man named Thomas. Thomas works as a bus driver in a busy city. Every morning he starts his shift at 6 a.m. He checks the bus and greets his passengers. "Good morning, welcome aboard." Today he has a full route with many stops. A passenger asks him, "Excuse me, does this bus go to the city center?" Thomas replies, "Yes, it does. It will take about 20 minutes from here." While he is driving, he enjoys listening to the small stories that his passengers share. Some of them talk about their jobs, while others talk about their families. This daily interaction helps Thomas to practice his listening and speaking skills in English in a very natural way. Now think in English. What time does Thomas start his work? How does he greet his passengers? Where is his first stop? And the answers are, he starts at 6 a.m. He says, "Good morning, welcome aboard." His first stop is the city center. Practicing like this trains your brain to respond in English very quickly. Next, a dialogue about home chores. Nora says, "Ben, could you please help me clean the living room?" Ben replies, "Yes, of course. I will vacuum the carpet and dust the shelves." Nora says, "Thank you. Can you also arrange the cushions on the sofa?" Ben replies, "Sure, I will do that right now." Short dialogues like this help you to practice everyday English and to think in complete sentences naturally. Now, a story about a woman named Emily. Emily works as a librarian. She organizes books, helps visitors find the books they need, and answers their questions. A visitor asks, "Can you please help me find a book about animals?" Emily replies, "Yes, of course." The books about animals are on the 3rd floor, right next to the history section. Emily enjoys interacting with visitors and speaking English with them every day. Now think in English. What does Emily do at the library? How does she help the visitors? What section does she mention? And the answers are: she organizes books and helps visitors. She tells them that the animal books are on the 3rd floor. A small dialogue for practice. A visitor says, "Excuse me, where is the science section?" Emily replies, "It is on the 2nd floor. Just follow the signs and you will find it." The visitor says, "Thank you very much." Emily replies, "You're welcome. Enjoy your reading." Next, a story about a man named Jack. Jack is a delivery driver. He starts his day by checking his delivery list. His first stop is a supermarket. He picks up a package, drives to the address, and rings the doorbell. "Hello, I have a delivery for you." The customer signs the form, and Jack moves on to his next delivery. He enjoys meeting new people and seeing new streets in his city every day. Now think in English. Where does Jack go first? What does he say to the customer? Why does he like his work? And the answers are: he goes to the supermarket first. He says, "Hello, I have a delivery for you." He enjoys meeting new people and discovering new streets. Now, a short dialogue. Ava says, "Liam, we need some eggs, bread, and milk." Liam replies, "I will buy them." "Do you want any fruit too?" Ava says, "Yes, please. Get some apples and some bananas." Liam replies, "Okay, I will bring everything home by 5 p.m. Practicing dialogues like this is a great way to improve your speaking fluency and your listening skills. Next, a story about a student named Lucy. Lucy studies English every evening. She reads a short story and then writes a summary of it. The story is about a boy who finds a lost dog. He takes care of the dog and finds its owner. The boy feels very proud and happy. Writing summaries in English trains your mind to form complex sentences naturally. Now think in English. What is the story about? What does the boy do? How does he feel at the end? And the answers are: it is about a boy who finds a dog. He takes care of it and finds the owner. He feels proud and happy. How is? Well, now, a family conversation. Nora says, "Ben, could you please set the table for breakfast?" Was. Ben replies, "Yes, I will put out the plates, the cups, and the utensils. Do you want some juice too?" Nora says, "Yes, and don't forget the bread." Ben replies, "Okay, breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. Practicing small family dialogues like this helps you to think in English for your daily life situations. Next, a story about a man named Michael. Michael enjoys jogging every morning. He puts on his shoes, does some stretching, and meets his friend, Peter. "Good morning. Are you ready for today's run?" Peter replies, "Yes, let's start with 5 minutes of warm-up exercises." Michael says, After we jog, we can walk for a few minutes to cool down. Peter replies, I like running early in the morning. It gives me a lot of energy for the rest of the day. Practicing conversations about your hobbies and sports helps you to speak English naturally in your social situations. Now, a story about a woman named Sophie. Sophie loves baking cakes. She prepares all the ingredients, mixes the batter, and puts it in the oven. She often talks out loud in English while she works. The cake will bake for 30 minutes. I will check it in 10 minutes. I think I need a little more sugar. Talking out loud while you are performing your tasks is a great way to train your brain to think and speak in English automatically. Next, a travel scenario. Ava and Liam are at a train station. Ava asks, Liam, which platform is our train on? Liam replies, it's on platform 3. Let's go before it leaves. Ava says, I hope we have enough time to buy some tickets. Liam replies, yes, the train leaves in 15 minutes. Practicing travel situations like this helps to build your confidence and prepares you for real-life English conversations. Now, a story about a man named Robert. Robert enjoys cooking dinner for his family. He prepares a salad. I will cut the tomatoes and the cucumbers. I will add some olive oil and some salt. Then he cooks some rice and grills some chicken. He sets the table and announces, dinner is ready. His wife joins him and they enjoy the meal together. Now, think in English. What does Robert prepare first? How does he cook the rice? What does he say when dinner is ready? And the answers are, he prepares a salad first. He cooks rice and grills chicken. He says, dinner is ready. Next, a workplace story. Hannah works in an office. She checks her emails and responds, I will prepare the report and send it to you by 2 p.m. today. She asks a colleague, do you need any help with your presentation? Her colleague replies, yes, please. Could you just check the slides for me? Short office conversations like this are very practical for professional English. Now, think in English. What does Hannah do first? How does she help her colleague? When will she send the report? And the answers are, she checks her emails first. She checks the slides for her colleague. She will send the report by 2 p.m. Another home scenario. Nora says, Ben, can you please fold the clothes? Ben replies, yes, I will fold the shirts first. Nora says, great. Can you also organize the towels? Ben replies, sure, I will do that next. Practicing household dialogues like this helps you to speak English naturally in your everyday life. Next, a story about a man named Alex. Alex is a taxi driver. He greets his passengers politely. Good morning. Where would you like to go? A passenger replies, please take me to the airport. Alex drives carefully and says, it will take about 30 minutes. Do you want to go by the highway? The passenger replies, yes, please. Now, think in English. Who is Alex's passenger? Where do they want to go? How does Alex speak? And the answers are, the passenger is going to the airport. Alex says it will take 30 minutes and asks about the route. A short taxi dialogue. A passenger says, can you please take me to the train station? Alex replies, yes, it will take about 20 minutes from here. The passenger says, thank you. And Alex replies, you're welcome. Now that we've practiced some basic scenarios, let's move on to situations that require a little more specific language, like making an appointment. This is something many learners feel nervous about. Let me tell you about Zoe. She needed to see a dentist for a checkup, but she kept delaying the phone call. She was worried she wouldn't understand the receptionist or that she would use the wrong words and sound silly. So I gave her a simple task. Before calling, she practiced a very simple script in her head. "Hello, I would like to make an appointment to see the dentist, please." She also thought about the questions the receptionist might ask, like, "Have you been here before?" Or, "What is the reason for your visit?" And prepared simple answers. This mental rehearsal made her feel much more prepared. Let's listen to how a call like that might go. The receptionist says, "Good morning, City Dental Clinic. How can I help you?" Zoe, feeling more confident, replies, "Hello, I'd like to make an appointment for a checkup, please." The receptionist says, "Certainly. Have you been a patient here before?" Zoe answers, "No, this will be my first time." The receptionist continues, "Okay, not a problem. I have an opening on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Does that work for you?" Zoe replies, "Yes, that's perfect. Thank you so much." See? By keeping her sentences simple and clear, she accomplished her goal without any stress. Another important area of conversation is offering advice to a friend. This is a big part of building relationships, and it's a great way to practice thinking in English in a more complex way. Imagine Liam is talking to his friend, Ben. Liam seems stressed. Liam says, "I'm just so worried about this big presentation I have to give on Friday. I don't feel prepared at all." Ben, instead of just saying, "Don't worry," listens and offers helpful suggestions. He might say, "I understand. That sounds really tough. Have you tried breaking the presentation down into smaller parts?" Liam might reply, "Not really. I just keep looking at the whole thing and feeling overwhelmed." Ben could then say, "Maybe you should just focus on the introduction today. Once that's done, you'll feel like you've made some progress. And hey, why don't we practice it together tomorrow evening? You can present it to me and I'll give you some feedback." Liam would feel relieved and say, "That's actually a fantastic idea. Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate that." Notice the gentle, helpful phrases Ben used. "I understand." "Have you tried?" ? "Maybe you should." "And why don't we?" ? These are perfect for giving advice in a natural, friendly way. Finally, let's talk about storytelling. Recounting a past event is one of the best ways to practice your past tense verbs and connect your ideas into a flowing narrative. Let's imagine Ava is telling a friend about a recent weekend trip. She might say something like this: "Last weekend, we drove to the coast for a short break. The weather was absolutely beautiful. On Saturday, we walked along the beach for hours and collected some interesting shells. Later, we found a small cafe right by the water and had the most delicious fish and chips for lunch. In the evening, we just relaxed and watched the sunset over the ocean. It was a really simple trip, but it was exactly what I needed to recharge." Listening to that short story, you can clearly picture her weekend. Now, it's your turn. Think about your last weekend or a recent holiday you took. Try to describe it in just 3 or 4 simple English sentences, just like Ava did. This is a wonderful way to practice thinking in English and telling your own stories. As we come to the end of our episode today, I want you to remember the most important ideas we've discussed. The journey to thinking in English doesn't happen overnight. It begins with a single, simple thought, and then another, and another. It starts when you decide to think, "The sky is blue today," instead of translating it from your native language. It's about building small, consistent habits. Narrate your daily actions, like making coffee or washing dishes. Ask yourself simple questions throughout the day. Change your phone's language to English. Use English subtitles instead of subtitles in your native language. All these small steps, when done consistently, create a powerful shift in your mind. And most importantly, please do not be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are proof that you are trying, that you are learning, and that you are growing. Fluency is not about being perfect. It's about being able to communicate your thoughts, your ideas, and your feelings confidently and clearly. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today here at English in Advance. I truly hope these stories, examples, and techniques have inspired you to start building your own English-thinking mind. Keep practicing, be patient with yourself, and you will be amazed at how quickly you progress. This is Jessica from English in Advance, wishing you a wonderful day and happy learning. We'll be back soon with another lesson to help you on your English journey. Goodbye for now.